D. Mace, Finnegan, and Donick 1025, The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you on another picturesque day in our wonderful city of Nashville, Tennessee. I hope everybody is having a wonderful start to their Wednesday. I know all of you were waiting with bated breath to see who the Titans would claim off waivers, having the number one waiver wire priority in the NFL because they are the worst team in the NFL, or were. Maybe they will be again. We'll see, starting next Sunday. But let's just get to it quickly. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't have a lot of analysis on these players. I've never seen any of these players play football. Maybe Derek has, maybe Willie has, maybe David has. I haven't. But I will just tell you who they have claimed off waivers. They have been awarded 4 players via waiver claims. Defensive back Jalen Armour Davis from the Baltimore Ravens. Linebacker Dorian Mousey Jr. from Minnesota. Defensive back Samuel Womack III from the Colts. And defensive end CJ Ravenel, also from the Baltimore Ravens. The Titans, in corresponding moves, parted with 5 players. Defensive tackle Timmy Horn, linebacker Curtis Jacobs, cornerback Gabe Judy Lawley, tackle John Ojukwu, and released Corey Levin. So, Derek, I hope you have more insight into these players than I do. What do you make of the positions that the Titans prioritized on the waiver wire today?
It was what I expected. As far as who they targeted, they needed another defensive back. Outside of the defensive back, I don't know much about these other guys. He was an often injured guy. They spoke highly of him, and I said this yesterday. I said if Denard Wilson goes out and get him, that tells a lot. Or if he chooses to stay away from him, that tells even a bigger story. Like he didn't have a good vibe with him while he was there, but he was one of the guys that they targeted very quickly. If he can stay healthy, he bolsters their secondary. He gives them a long physical corner that can play man-to-man, but also can play in a slot. But his problem is he's just not a healthy guy for whatever reason. He always finds himself missing more games than playing. So that's going to be the concern with him. I think he will play well if indeed he does play majority of the season. But the other guys I don't know much about, but they addressed the positions that I thought, D-line and cornerback.
Willie, Corey Curtis was on Next Man Up today with Jake Lyman, and I thought Corey had a great line about the waiver wire. It's getting excited. It's like getting excited about day-old donuts. You walk into the break room. Oh, there are donuts here. Yeah, they're from yesterday. Oh, and I agree with that because, look, the Titans need depth. They certainly need it on defense. They've got it, but I can't get too excited about these players because ideally, these players rarely see the field in important situations. Their depth, but hopefully we won't be calling their names too often because the starters at their respective positions stay healthy and contribute.
And yet we know that over a 17-game season, depth is very, very important. And if you can improve your depth, because guys are going to get hurt. I think we look at their first 22 and you say, well, if everything goes right, they could be a lot better than they were last year. But that's never how it happens. Guys do get hurt. And then when there's a big drop-off, you're in trouble. So that's what you're hoping for these guys. I don't think they're going to print jerseys of any of these 4 guys that they signed. The one thing that I really was taken aback by is I was told by Brian Callahan and all the coaches that Corey Levin was pretty good. Why did they release him?
Well, doesn't that bode well for the availability of
Boyd but we just got done talking about but you just got done talking about all the depth that you need. Like I thought he was doing a good job, and he's not worthy of being the backup. He's been a backup on the team.
Perhaps
maybe they feel good about
who is the backup
other
center
guys.
now.
I don't even know.
Perhaps Paul Kaharski can answer that question because he tweeted 2 hours ago. As some of you have pointed out, the Titans will likely play the practice squad game with Corey Levin. They can call him up and have him for games while protecting the raw developmental Brandon Crenshaw Dixon by having him on the 53.
So that tells me that either they feel really good about Cushenberry or they want to just have the ability, if Cushenberry can't play the first game, have the ability to bring Levin up. Because I can't see them starting a rookie at that position or a young guy at that position. If
Sure,
Cushenberry can't
I think
play.
it definitely tells you. It definitely tells you that Cushenberry is telling everybody, and they feel good about his ready. But I'm confused because you told us all off season that Corey Levin was doing a great job and worthy of the starting spot. And even at the beginning of camp, we were hearing this. So what? So maybe this kid's way better than what they expected in the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's what happened. But if I'm Corey Levin, I'm this is life in the NFL, right? You know this, D Mace. This stinks, but it definitely hoodwinked me, right? Because I'm not sitting there evaluating the center every time, but it was just odd how they praised how we played last year and all summer and into training camp.
I thought he was doing a good job in camp as well as in the preseason games. But I mean, I guess they thought otherwise. But that may have been the biggest shocker in camp that they released.
Yeah. And he's 1.5 million. So it's not a huge salary number. Now let's say this, right? This is again the advantage, if you want to call it that, right? Maybe Mike Borgonzi looks at it this way. Chad Brinker should take responsibility as to why they're here. But when you are the number one waiver team and you have the worst roster in football, you probably have a pretty good notion that nobody's going to pick up your guys. So nobody picked up any of their guys that they waived. So they knew exactly who they could sign to the practice squad. So maybe they're banking on that with Levin. They could bring Levin back. Now he's released, right? He's not waived.
Yeah, he's released.
So he could go sign with it. He could go sign with anybody. He's not subject to waivers. So he's a free agent. But if he's still standing around and has no job, right? They could call him and say, "Hey, Corey, nobody's calling you. Remember us? Would you come on our practice squad?" And then they could call him up and he could play in the first game. So maybe there's something going on with that, the roster games. So that's something to wonder about.
As Willie mentioned, none of the players waived by the Titans yesterday were claimed by other teams, which probably speaks to the rest of the league's opinion on the talent on the roster of the Tennessee Titans. So all of those players, all of your favorites, made the Titans practice squad, including James Prochet, Xavier Restrepo, and Mason Kinsey. As John Glennon notes, the Titans have now waived Kinsey 8 times and signed him to the practice squad 7 times since 2020. So Mason Kinsey,
it's got to be a franchise. Got to be a franchise record.
Back where he belongs, on the practice squad.
He may just end up as a permanent practice squad guy. And
they're going to name the practice squad after Mason Kinsey.
You never know.
The Mason Kinsey Titans practice squad.
Because to him, it's his job. So he's going to work every day, for 8, 9, 10 hours. He's putting the work in, go home, come back and do it again. He can, in theory, you should name a award after him right about now. It should
be.
But
it's also
squad MVP.
Right. But you also are looking at it this way. Nobody in the league wants Mason Kinsey after 8 times. Nobody else wants him.
I don't want to say that. No. New England did pick him up, didn't they? Was it New England or it was some team that picked him up briefly, I think.
I have no clue.
I think he may have gotten picked up. And I don't want to laugh. Y'all are wrong for that, Willie. Y'all are wrong. You and Adam are wrong. Completely wrong. Just because
I'm not, but I'm just illustrating when you're the worst team and you cut guys and hey, we can get him on the practice squad. That's
in
like
2020, the New England Patriots did get him for the
absolutely. So he has been on an active squad.
That was 5 years ago.
No disrespect to Mason Kinsey,
Willie,
who is a real pro and can joke about this himself. He does it every year at this time. Every year at this time, he jokes he jokes about it. So, but Mason Kinsey, rest easy, Titans fans. Mason Kinsey is still on your practice squad. But last night, I decided to put on my big ass glasses and do some research. As we have talked about countless times, the Tennessee Titans draft record in recent years is it's gross. That's the only word I can think of to describe it. It's gross. But I wanted to add context to it. So here's what I did. And I am sure this is going to get Willy Donkers's blood boiling. Here is what I did. I looked at each team in the AFC South and the number of top 100 picks each team in the division had between 2020 and 2024. And then what I did is I looked at the initial 53-man rosters for each of those teams to see how many of those top 100 picks from between 2020 and 2024 made those initial rosters. So we'll start with the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans between 2020 and 2024 made 16 top 100 picks. Willie and Derek have not seen these numbers. I have not shared them with them. Again, 16 top 100 picks by the Titans between 2020 and 2024. Willie, including Tajay Spears, who is on injured reserve, so he's not technically on the initial 53-man roster, but we will include him. Including Tajay Spears, how many of the Titans' 16 top 100 picks between 2020 and 2024 are on the initial 53-man roster?
So they had 16, and this goes through the draft that Peter Skoronski. Well, 20. You're adding 24, so that's
Yes.
Skoronski. That's also the J.C. Latham
Correct.
draft, right?
Yes.
So, I don't want to give my verbal math away. So that would be including Spears.
That are starters or just on the roster?
On the
Just
roster.
on the roster,
On the
period.
roster.
All right.
I think the number is 6.
Derek?
Man. I think I'm with Will. In my head, I got 5.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 5. I think it's 6, but I'm going to go with 5.
Derek is correct. The answer is 5.
Yeah.
5
I
of
missed
16.
one somewhere.
5
I
of
named
16.
the 5, and I was thinking maybe there's one more I'm missing.
J.C.
5
Latham,
of 16.
J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat,
Skoronski.
Peter Skoronski, Tajay Spears, and Roger McCreary.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
So,
So Chig is not. I wasn't sure if Chig was the
Chig
top
was
100.
not a top 100 pick. So here
Okay.
are the 11 players who did not make the initial 53-man roster. Will Levis, Treylon Burks, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Malik Willis, Caleb Farley, Dylan Radins, Monty Rice, Elijah Molden, Isaiah Wilson, Christian Fulton, and Darrington Evans.
Wow.
5
and there's
5 of 16.
And I think there's a distinction too. A couple of these guys are still in the league,
Yes.
but it's not like they're really tearing it up for new teams, right?
Mhm.
And even so, not even in the league in most cases. In most of those cases, that is. And these are the guys that should be making up the core of your roster. These are the guys that should be who you're building around. And they got 5
5
in
of
5
16.
drafts. That's 5 drafts. And some of them just got here last year.
Hey,
They ought to be still
one
here.
per draft.
Now, let me, for comparison.
Yes.
You're by the way, you're kind to add last year's draft, right? If you'd have kept it to 20 to 23, the batting average goes way down.
It would have been
2.
2.
Yeah.
And Tajay Spears, we'll see. I included Spears, who did not make the 53-man roster because he is on injured reserve. So again, 5 of 16. Top 100 picks made by the Titans between 2020 and 2024 are on the roster. By comparison, the Indianapolis Colts made 15 top 100 picks between 2020 and 2024. 11 of 15 made the initial 53-man roster, 10 if you exclude Anthony Richardson. So if you are of the mind that Anthony Richardson is done in Indianapolis, fine, it's 10 out of 15. It's still 2/3. But if you include Richardson, it's 11 of 15 for the Indianapolis Colts. Right. The Houston Texans, 16 top 100 picks between 2020 and 2024. 11 of 16 on the initial 53-man roster, 12 if you include Tank Dell, who is on the physically unable to perform list.
Well, you got to count them.
Okay.
You got to count
So
Tank Dell.
12 of 16. That's
Yeah.
three
I
quarters.
count Richardson and Dell.
Okay. So if you are counting Richardson and Dell, it's 11 of 15 for the Colts, 12 of 16 for the Texans. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 19 top 100 draft picks between 2020 and 2024. 13 of 19 made the initial 53-man roster. So let me recap. Titans, 5 of 16. Colts, 11 of 15. Texans, 12 of 16. Jaguars, 13 of 19.
And that's pretty much the order, take Jacksonville. It's pretty much the order of how this division is ran. Houston, they had 12 out of 16 or 11?
Houston had 12 out of 16,
12 out of 16.
including Tank Dell.
Exactly. So this is how it's been ran. Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, then the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when Borgonzi came in, he wanted to really hone in on drafting, developing, and retaining individuals, because over the last 4 years, and I'm sure they did the same numbers that you did, Adam, and they looked at it as, we are so far back, it's not even funny. Just with the top 100 players that have not hit or we have not signed to other contracts compared to the other teams within our division. All those teams are doing what you want to do. But you're so deep in a hole right now, it's going to take you a lot of years to get up out of it. Only way you get out of it, quicker is if Cam hits. But if Cam is a slow developer, man, you may be in this hole for a minute.
615-737-1025. You all know how bad the Titans have been at drafting, but now I have some numbers to show you how bad they have been compared to their division rivals. Your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, can the Titans' unheralded signings on defense help them improve on the margins in year 2 under defensive coordinator Denard Wilson? We'll discuss that. We also have some clips from the Athletic Football Show to discuss on this matter, and that is coming up next. 615-737-1025. Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on Charlotte at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure.
And what I appreciate, and I was spent some time in Tennessee and talking to some people there about the things that they've tried to fill in on the defense and what they felt like they needed. I think that it was really specific, and I completely understand how they got there. So the two areas where if you look at the personnel that they added this offseason that was very intentional and very urgent was we want a Mike linebacker within this defense. When they lost Ernest Jones last year, it wasn't even just the quality of play from that position, but what they put on the Mike linebacker mentally in this defense. Just think about what they asked of Roquan Smith when Denard Wilson was in Baltimore. They lost that a little bit when Ernest Jones was gone. And so getting Cody Barton to be there and kind of be the centerpiece of communication for this team, I think was a priority for them. And they feel like they got that with Barton. And even from how his skill set fits into the defense sort of way, he's a little bit undersized. He's a sideline to sideline player. We have Jeffrey Simmons and Trevondre Sweat in front of him. And so the hope is the weaknesses in his game matter a little bit less because of some of the other pieces that you have.
That was Robert Mays on the Athletic Football Show talking about the Titans edition of Cody Barton in the offseason. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. I know I've said this a couple of times before, guys, but it bears repeating. The Titans defense did something historic last season, and not in a good way. You may have heard this before. It may be the first time you're hearing it. There have been 4 teams in NFL history to have a bottom 3 scoring defense and a top 3 total defense in the same season in NFL history. Scoring defense, of course, points allowed per game, total defense, yards allowed per game. The 2024 Tennessee Titans, the 1960 Chicago Bears, the 1955 Pittsburgh Steelers, and altogether now, the 1943 Steagles. The Steagles, the combination of the Steelers and Eagles, because those two teams needed to combine because World War II was going on and there were players off fighting in the war. So those are the 3 other teams that the Tennessee Titans live with in this strange world of having a bottom 3 scoring defense and top 3 total defense in the same season in NFL history. And Willie, the signings that the Titans made this offseason, they bring in Cody Barton, they bring in Draymond Jones, they bring in Xavier Woods, they draft Femi Oladejo. None of those signings truly moved the needle. But the question that you had for us today in our group chat, and I want to bring it here, is can the Titans' unheralded signings on defense help them improve on the margins in year 2 under Denard Wilson so that this defense can help the rookie quarterback? So you actually brought those clips from the Athletic Football Show to my attention. So upon hearing them again, what are your thoughts on this?
It's all in theory, right? And so let's take those 2 extreme numbers that you said just now. 3rd in giving up the most points, but also or like third most, like not good. 3rd best in fewest yards, which is also a little bit of a skewed. It's not what it appears. So when they graded through a lot of analytic models, they ended up more what you would think, right in the middle, right? So 17th, according to the FTN Football Almanac. So much more middle of the road. I think we would all agree it wasn't an awful defense, but it wasn't a great defense. And so what they did is, they started explaining it there. They had a lot more detail on the actual podcast than they did on the YouTube clip there. So they signed guys that let's say it like it is. Nobody's running out. I don't even think in the very limited selection that you get to start with in the Titans Pro Shop. Have you ever been to the Titans Pro Shop?
No.
It's hard to find. It's very small. It's not real good. You're not running out to get a Draymond Jones jersey, right? And if you did, you'd probably have to look for a while to find one. Not a household name. Neither is Jihad Ward. And even Cody Barton, who's got a lot of camera time and a lot of attention because he's the guy with the green dot, right? He's the guy running the defense. Those aren't household names. And then you could go to the other guys that, that you also mentioned in there. And now a couple of these guys they picked up on the waiver wire. And now you throw in who's the kid they picked up, Shy Tuttle yesterday from University of Tennessee. So collectively, I think is the key word that I want to throw at you, D. Mace, for Denard Wilson. I think they had a year with Barganzi coming in, Breaker being there, studying Denard Wilson. What kind of players are going to be good fits for his system? Because they're not going to be able to really improve with star power. They don't have enough studs that change the field, especially if you believe, like I think we all do, that L'Jarius Sneed, anything he gives you is gravy. You're not counting on him to be a game changer like he once was not too long ago when they traded for him. So how can they be better on the margins? This is my question. Red zone defense, 25th last year. If you can move up there in the margins, that's a way to get better. And then getting more turnovers. They didn't get nearly enough last year, right? Not nearly for the aggressive style that they want to play. Those would be two areas I would look at. And so with Ward and Jones, they're not sexy guys. Neither is Barton, but they think that they're going to help, especially on first and second down. You're not going to see sack totals that wow you at all, but they think that they're better fits and can create better matchups across the board so that the chess match that Denard Walker wants to create, the matchups, he has a few more options to work with. That's the idea. And the podcast goes into a lot of detail of that. So that got my attention.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, the offense has to help the defense. If the offense
That's
don't
for
do half of what they did last year, then at least you're giving the defense a chance. Now, it may have still ended up, being the same thing, meaning they just may have had to travel a little bit further, but yet and still they traveled and scored a touchdown. So it still may have worked out because even, them having that in particular stat, the defense wasn't good last year. They wanted to be good, I'm sure. The scheme was there, but there were too many people. One, they were injured at some key positions, and there was too many people still trying to learn that defense way into the season. I mean, it seemed like more guys didn't have a clue of what they were doing than not. So first and foremost, the offense has to get better. And then secondly, they got to create pressure. That's what red zone is about. Creating pressure, that's the turnovers. Creating pressure that creates turnovers. If you get no pressure, the likelihood of you getting turnovers are very slim, unless you are a disciplined defense. If you're not getting the pressure, but you're disciplined behind the rush, then you will get your hands on more balls than not. But if you're not, and a lot of times last year, they were not disciplined. Penalties, missed assignments, stuff like that. Even if you're getting pressure, if you're not disciplined in the back end, you're not going to get to play. But turnovers to me, that is a tricky that's a tricky one for me because you can get them in bunches. And once you get 2 or 3, it just seems like the floodgates is open. For whatever reason, it just seems like everything starts to go your way. But if you don't start creating turnovers early, it's hard to get them late. It really is. So they got to figure out a way to make all of that happen. And then the offense needs to help the defense, because a lot of times they put them in situations that were not advantageous for them. So first and foremost, the offense has to get better.
To that point, Derek, what one texter says, with all those short fields and quick turnarounds, I'm always baffled at how y'all talk about Denard Wilson. I thought he did a decent job, all things considered. Josh on our YouTube chat also pointed out with my stat about the top 3 total defense, bottom 3 scoring defense. And Derek just touched on it. The turnovers, the special teams gaffes put the Titans defense in disadvantageous situations quite a bit last year. That is sort of baked into this conversation, but the Titans defense did not protect. What's the best way to say this? The Titans defense did not make up for it. I know they were put in tough situations, but they did not bail out the offense and special teams enough last season.
That is, I think, a great point. And D-Mace, I think specifically the special teams, a better punting game, punt coverage, I think could help. Another thing they hit on the podcast, D-Mace, I want to get your thoughts on this, because I don't know how the pieces fit with this, but they were talking about how the signings were specific and intentional. And I think that caught my attention, because they were just throwing money at stuff the year before, they weren't headliners, the guys that they signed, right? They weren't super expensive, but I think what the hope is they're better fits. And the example they used was they were undersized on the edges. So even though you got these big behemoths in the middle, guys who are really good, Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat was surprisingly good. Sebastian Joseph Day seems to be pretty well regarded at his position. So in the middle, they've got some guys who win matchups, but they were undersized on the edges, and it was costing them, and they weren't creating enough 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s. That's maybe where you have a better chance of getting the turnovers and maybe getting better matchups to get a good pass rush, which obviously they didn't do great last year. And so that's where Jihad Ward and Draymond Jones are supposed to help. They think they'll do better because they're better at setting the edge. So maybe you're a better run stuffing team and create obvious passing downs that might be able to get you a better chance to scheme your way to the quarterback.
Yeah, they needed to get bigger. And I think those guys in particular. And even when, you look at Femi, he's a bigger guy. So they're trying to get bigger and stronger on the edges so they can set those edges. If you watch Arden Key in the preseason, he did a good job at setting edges. Now, the problem with Arden Key is, like you said, Adam, he runs hot and cold. It's like he can be hot for 2 or 3 weeks and then cold for 5 or 6. But if you watch him, he does what Denard Wilson wants to be done at that position. Stay strong and get those edges. Make sure you get those edges so the backs can get outside and you funnel everything in the inside. Then they go out and get Femi, who's a much bigger individual as well. So they needed to get more stout up front. I think they have, but only time will tell. And guys like Cody Barton can scrape off of those big fellas in the middle, guys that are setting the edges. Now those linebackers can roam. That's why I was a little concerned about Cedric Gray, him being a smaller linebacker. But if you get those guys up front setting edges and creating that pressure up front in the middle, it's easier for Barton and Gray, guys like that, to get to the either the passer or the ball carrier.
615-737-1025. We will continue this conversation coming up next. What is your confidence level in the Titans defense as week 1 approaches against the Denver Broncos? Let us know. 615-737-1025. Tune into ESPN 94.9 The Fan this Sunday at 2 p.m. for our college football game of the week. The Virginia Tech Hokies against the South Carolina Gamecocks, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants, Circus Sportsbook, and Macero and 12 South. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com.
And the other thing that was clearly a priority for them this offseason, even if they have that sort of beef on the interior, they were undersized on the edges last year. It was Harold Landry and Arden Key, and I don't think they liked how proficient they were at like condensing certain runs and not getting pushed around on the edge. Well, you look at it, they signed Jihad Ward in free agency, and that's exactly what he can bring you. They signed Draymond Jones in free agency, who's a massive edge rusher, and that's exactly what he can bring you. He comes from a similar system after playing in Seattle last year with Mike McDonald, and then they drafted Femi Oluwadejo in the second round. He's a different sort of player just because he's played off the ball, and they do think there's some flexibility there. But right now, I think all they want him to be is, we want you to be a violent player off the edge, and we want to condense that space in ways that we couldn't last year. You combine that with a capable group of DBs, if they can get 80% of L'Jarius Sneed and the type of coaching you're talking about with Denard Wilson, and I truly do believe that this can be a defense that people are surprised by over the course of the season.
That was Robert Mays on the Athletic Football Show asking, hey, where's the beef? Well, it's on the Titans defense, I guess.
A lot of it.
Big, meaty men slapping meat. That's the tagline for the 2025 Tennessee Titans defense. Grow up, Derek. But I heard that clip, and it reminded me of something that Brian Callahan discussed earlier in training camp about the Titans wanting to collapse the pocket. So I want to play this clip from Brian Callahan, and then we'll discuss. This was Brian Callahan earlier this month at training camp.
About missing sacks a lot last year. A lot of the guys have talked about that concept of rushing together this year. How do you sort of explain that, and can that help in?
Yeah, it definitely can help. There's how you deploy your pressure package when you pressure the quarterback. When you 4-man rush is, some of the things that we didn't do a good enough job of is just balancing the rush, giving quarterbacks lanes that they didn't need to have. One of the things that you see too is when you're a bigger, heavier front, the idea of trying to crush the pocket and take the tackles and push them back and try to push the front. So everything sort of condenses on a quarterback. They don't really like that from my experiences, and quarterbacks don't respond well to a solid push from the interior. You can deal with edge rushers. You can help on the edge. It's hard to help. Someone's going to get a one-on-one inside. And so that's kind of the key, is who gets the one-on-ones and how do we win? And then how do we rush it together where everything's a little more coordinated from that perspective. So again, I don't know that it's going to guarantee more sacks or not, but I think we have a better feel for what we want to do with the players we have.
So that was Brian Callahan earlier this month on the Titans' approach to pressuring the quarterback. And I remember reading, Willie, an article from Paul Kaharski, who asked the question, paraphrasing here, is this the Titans' way of getting around the fact that they don't have quality edge rushers, so they are trying to diminish the impact that edge rushers have by going this way, or at least talking about it? So that's the question I have. I mean, you heard Brian Callahan's response. You heard Robert Mays on the clip we just played. Do you think this approach can work for the Titans this season?
I think it is a main question. I think they know they don't have. They don't just think, it's suspect. It's not a mystery. They know they don't have that edge rusher.
Correct.
And so they have to get it done by being more than the sum of the parts. So this is what we're trying to do in these two segments, is define what they're trying to do to get a little bit better. Okay, we just you heard that was better detail on what I tried, and D Mace also helped me explain in the last segment, where Draymond Jones, Jihad Ward, bigger guys on the edge. They're not great pass rushers, but maybe they're better at making you a great run defense, right? Maybe all of a sudden you can move up the rankings there, and teams around the league say, man, it's going to be hard to run on these guys, and you could find more obvious pass situations. The other thing I'm seeing here, D-Mace, is you see Draymond Jones. Where did he come from? Seattle. Mm-hmm. Where did they get a couple guys off the waiver wire today? Baltimore. Guys who are familiar with the way that they want to defend, right? And so that's what I think what you're hoping, that in the second year of a system, You've got players that fit that system better. You draft to that system. Femi Oladejo, you hope they see his profile and they're saying, you know what, that would fit, and not in just defense in general, but in Denard Wilson's defense.
Well, it fits what you want to do as a organization, first as a defense, but as an organization. That's why you get certain guys, you know, whereas we may look at them and think, well, why are they drafting that guy so high? Well, they're doing it because he fits what they want to do from a schematic standpoint. I've always said this for years. This is nothing new to me. You're going to have your superior outside rushers. You're going to have them. There's about 5 in the NFL right now, maybe 6. But you're going to have your superior edge rushers. No, every team doesn't have a Myles Garrett or Michael Parsons, guys like that can get to it, or Joey Bosa, guys that can get to the passer very quickly. So what do you have to do? The NFL has understood the best thing the quarterbacks love when they can step up in the pocket. They love it. You can bring the rush from the outside all you want. You may get me a few times, okay, but as long as I can step up in the pocket and deliver the ball, or step up in the pocket and find the exit, I'm good. The minute you start pressuring the pocket, it became bad. I remember it just like it was yesterday. Us playing New England. We pressured the middle of the pocket, and it was hard for Tom Brady to step up in the pocket to release the football. That weighs on the quarterback. That's what the Titans, that's what Baltimore Ravens defense was about. Pressuring the middle, getting those one-on-ones in on the outside, and those guys pressuring and pushing on one setting edges, but then pushing the pocket from the outside. But as long as those two big fellas in the middle were collapsing the pocket so the quarterback couldn't step up, and if he did step up, we had our fast linebackers plugging holes, i.e. Barton and Cedric Gray, guys like that. So to me, I believe what Brian Callahan is saying. Y'all are right. He doesn't have a superior edge rusher. He understands that, but he wants to make sure that he gets guys in the middle that can push the pocket so the quarterback can't step up in the pocket, but he can get guys on the outside that are physical enough to set an edge or collapse it when need be.
Ron on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHundy.com. I think you guys are giving the defense a hard time about last year. The offense put the defense in horrible situations, which we've discussed. Mm-hmm. The defense goes out and does its job, and not a play later, they got to go right back out to defend after your quarterback makes yet another interception, fumble, or just bad decision. Without the bad decisions by Will Levis, this defense will look way better this season. And I do think there is some truth to that, Willie. I can easily look this up, but I'm not going to do it at the moment. If I recall correctly, the Titans defense starting field position was the worst in the NFL, or among the worst in the NFL, which even if you don't look at the numbers, you would not be surprised to hear that, right? Considering all of the turnovers Will Levis had and the special teams gaffes and things of that nature. I'm wondering, part of me is, what is the Will Levis is gone bump to the defense, for lack of a better phrase? Like, now that you can hopefully count on Cam Ward not to make the same mistakes, now that you can hopefully count on the special teams to look competent with an experienced head coach, how much more improvement can we expect from the Titans defense solely based on those two things? I'm not sure how you can quantify that, but give it a shot.
Okay. Well, let's start with, again, we're not saying they were a hard time. Remember, what we've been trying to do is define what they were last year, right? They were middle of the pack. You could look at that number three defense with yards and say, well, that's way overrated. You could also say that the third worst in points, and say, well, they weren't that bad. So that's what we're saying. We're starting in the middle. So can you get better from the middle up? And all of a sudden, if you get better on the margins, then all of a sudden you might be in a top 12 defense kind of thing. What would that mean? And then on top of that, to quantify, to answer your question, let's say you don't finish 31st in turnover margin. Let's say your special teams goes from being the absolute worst in the league by far up to 20th. And let's say you get a little bit better in the red zone. And I'll throw one more in there. How about not being in the bottom 5 in most penalties? Offense or defense, right? So these are all ways that you can improve on the margins, where a roster that is lacking, which they are, can overachieve.
Steven on our text line says, I totally agree with Derek. The Titans gave Patrick Mahomes an early afternoon off once by pressuring up the middle. Eli says, and this is what I want Derek to respond to. Eli says, the problem is not the pressure of the middle last year. It was the ability for the quarterback to get outside the pocket because there was no penetration from the guys on the outside. So they were able to complete passes and extend plays.
Well, I mean, yes. What I'm talking about is you get these bigger guys that may not necessarily be, elite pass rushers, but what they do is they set the edge so the quarterback can't get outside. And then what you're banking on is Big Jeff and Meatloaf, Big Jeff and Sweat. What did I call it?
Big Jeff and Enormous Sweat.
Big Jeff and Enormous Sweat.
My favorite R&B group.
Those guys push the pocket. Now the quarterback can't stand up. Can't step up in the pocket. So I understand what the texter is saying, that the problem was the outside guys not getting to the quarterback. But you don't have to sack the quarterback to affect the quarterback. You set those edges and condense that pocket, all while those two big fellas are pushing it in. That affects the quarterback just as much as a sack. Because now, if I get ready to throw and I can't follow through, or the ball get tipped, what happened? 9 times out of 10, it's getting intercepted.
If I'm reading this correctly on Pro Football Reference, the Titans defense average field position in terms of where they started was their own 32.3 yard line,
Man,
which was third worst in the NFL, ahead of the Raiders and the 49ers, if I'm reading this correctly.
no, you're right.
So that, look, we hear you guys. We hear you talk about, yes, we know that Will Levis and the Titans special teams put the Titans defense in terrible situations last year. As I said earlier, the Titans defense, again, acknowledging the terrible conditions, did not make up for the mistakes by Will Levis and the special teams. So I am curious if Cam Ward is much better than Will Levis at handling the ball and not making dumb mistakes, and the special teams unit improves because they've got an experienced head coach and all of those things. I am hopeful that the Tennessee Titans defense can be better, but we can't, I understand we're not trying to pick on the defense here. It was what it was last year, but this is a conversation that we will continue to have as the season progresses. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, Willie has his third of 10 pressing Titans questions. We'll quickly recap the first two, and then Willie will introduce the third, and you can react as well at 615-737-1025. This isn't just a concert, it's a cause. Trinetics' Rock the Cradle helps give fragile newborns a stronger start and keeps moms close when it matters most. With Tim McGraw live on stage and your support behind every beat, Ascension St. Thomas is turning music into healing. Tickets are on sale now at rockthecradlenashville.org. D-Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025, The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. A reminder, 520, the return of Silly Underdog Picks, season number 31 of Silly Underdog Picks, kicks off at 5:20 p.m. Chris Sanders will attempt to defend his title against Derek Mason, me, and a mystery contestant who will be revealed in roughly an hour and 15 minutes. So be sure to be listening at 5:20 for Silly Underdog Picks. And for those of you who did not participate last year, quickly, one of you will represent the people. So you will call at 615-737-1025 after that 5:20 segment and have a chance to pick your own Silly Underdog pick. And let me just tell you what the prize is to entice you. If you represent the people this week and you win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Judas Priest and Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on Sunday, September 21st. So if you want those tickets, you better call, I would say around 5:35-ish, to represent the people in Silly Underdog Picks. But that is at 5:20. As the NFL season approaches, week 1 starts a week from tomorrow, correct? Thursday Night Football?
Mm-hmm.
So the Tennessee Titans, of course, kick off the season next Sunday in Denver against the Broncos. And we are going one per day up until next Friday. We are
just like a daily vitamin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably take some of those. We are answering one pressing question about the Tennessee Titans each day leading up to next Friday, our final show before week 1 against the Denver Broncos. So Willie is in charge of this. He's got the scrolls. Let's quickly recap, Willie, our first 2 questions and our responses, and then you can introduce question number 3.
Question number 1 on Monday was, will the Titans allow over or under 42.5 sacks, which would be a big improvement from the last couple of years? That would be around league average.
And we responded.
All of us said over. All of us said they'll be better, but not that much better, in a nutshell.
Okay.
Question 2 was yesterday, over or under 13.5 games played for Cam Ward. In other words, can they keep him upright? And can he play effective enough to play basically the whole season? And the theme of all these questions are, if they go in a positive direction for the Titans, that can mean improved play. That's what you're looking for. And obviously our 10 questions last year, did they not go well? They did not
The
go
number
well.
1 pick in the draft.
Yes, and they got the first pick in the draft because of it. All right, so today the subject is Calvin Ridley. Clearly the best they've got in the land of opportunity. Titans wide receivers. It is wide open. There we go. So it all starts with, you've got the rookie quarterback. You've hopefully got an improved offensive line. And so let's talk about Calvin Ridley's first season as a Titan. High-paid free agent wide receiver, of course, with the underwhelming quarterbacks of Mr. Levis and Mr. Mason Rudolph throwing him the passes. Last year, 120 targets, 64 catches, 1,017 yards, 4 touchdowns. But let's break it down a little further than that. The first 5 weeks, Calvin Ridley was targeted 27 times and caught exactly 9 for 141 yards, including an 0 for 8 in a game that they won against the Dolphins. He had 8 passes thrown to him against Dolphins, didn't catch 1. So it was a slow start. And one of the 9, if you'll recall, was a miraculous catch against the Jets, where Adam Vingan with the BAGs, which stands for
big ass glasses,
he was nerding out talking about the probability of that ball being caught.
I'm going to find
Calvin
this
Ridley.
from last season. Thank you for reminding me. I
Okay,
will do
so
it in a moment.
You just saw the antennae go up, D-Mace, right? When I said
Exactly.
that, his eyes lit up because, oh yeah, I remember that. I nerded out on that. But it was a slow start for Mr. Ridley. Then they traded DeAndre Hopkins, right? After the after the trade, first game is against the Lions. 10 catches, 143 yards. But let's be honest, that was kind of a blowout. It was garbage time. They got beat 52-14. Nonetheless, that was a good game for Ridley. But in the final 10 games, he averaged 4 catches for 49 yards. And he had a couple of TDs in there, but remember, a couple of them were against the Chargers in a game that, they had one late in that game that was kind of the game was over. And so it was a mixed bag, but he did get 1,000 yards. So we set the over-under this year of 1,100 yards. Can he improve on last year's performance? Can he be a number one receiver? 1,100 yards. I thought that was very reasonable. But Adam, before we start the discussion, let's put it in context. What did ESPN Bet have for their odds over-under? What did they set the over-under for Calvin Ridley?
I was shocked by this. ESPN Bet set the over-under for Calvin Ridley receiving yards at 900.5.
I was shocked at that for a guy that should get a lot of passes thrown his way. So, with that in mind, let's go to the wide receiver translator and get his thoughts on Calvin Ridley in year 2. Over or under, D-Mace, 1,100 for Ridley?
Oh, boy. I think, one, outside of the running back, I think he's, and we saw it in preseason, I think he wants to get Calvin Ridley the ball as much as possible. And he likes to push the ball down the field, but he will learn how to do it a little bit better than what he did in preseason, even though they connected, I think, once on a deep crossing route. But make no mistake, he's going to be Cam Ward's number one target. Brian Callahan is going to center the passing game around, at least to start, around Calvin Ridley, in hopes that those younger guys and even Lockett and Jefferson, they build a rapport with Cam as well. But right now it seems like Calvin Ridley, they want to give him the ball often. I think they felt they made a mistake last year by not getting him the ball at the beginning of the season, and it wasn't until 6 or 7 that they started really getting him the ball early in the game.
After he complained,
and then they released DeAndre Hopkins as well. So he was able to now become the number one guy that they brought him in to be. And it's not going to change this season. He's still going to be the number one guy, but if those other guys behind him develop, then the passing game would develop. He's not going to go away from Calvin Ridley, no matter what, unless he starts dropping passes. But 1,100, I am going, I'm going yes. If it is, I say yes, but it's closer to 1,100 than 12 or 1,300. So it's like 1,150 or right at 1,100.
And his 17-game career average is, I believe, 1,101 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much 1,100 yards. By the way, I did find it. Will Levis's 40-yard touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley against the Jets had a 16.5% completion probability, the most improbable completion of Will Levis's NFL career at the time, at least. 16.5%.
Well, I mean, we all were in amazement. We thought he got intercepted.
Yes.
I'm watching it and I'm thinking like, okay, that ball got intercepted. And then you see Calvin Ridley, get back up and celebrate. So yeah, that pass was not the pass that Brian Callahan was looking for him to throw. He was probably screaming no, and then he caught it and was like, yes. But, it happens like that sometimes. You got to be lucky sometimes.
Apparently, Will Levis had an even more improbable completion in Week 18 against, I think that was the Texans, a 14.1% completion probability on a throw to Tay Martin on a 49-yard touchdown reception. So he outdid himself. Good for you, Will Levis.
That was the one right at the end of the year. Oh yeah, that was I happened to be listening to the broadcast because it was in Canada and I couldn't get the game, and the amazement of Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis, he was like, I'm not sure he was throwing to Tay Martin, but hey, it worked.
A touchdown.
That was like
touchdown.
Will Levis's last touch. It could be his last touchdown pass as a tight. All right,
Derek is taking
Adam,
the over.
Derek is taking the over, which I knew he would. Derek always believes in his guys. He believes in Ridley. I knew it. That was in the bag. All right, so Adam, what do you think? And I challenge you, Adam, with your BAGs to take a look at receivers who get targeted over 100 times and what percentage of the time they get, what's their average number of yards, because he appears to be the number one option. And in 2020 in Atlanta, he had 143 targets, and he had by far his best year, 1,374 yards. That seems like ancient history. Then, of course, the whole thing happened with the gambling, and he got hurt. So you skip that. Then 136 in his contract year for the Jags, and then 120 last year. So he's going to get balls thrown to him if he's on the field.
So I'll be honest, Willie. I did not do my homework assignment. That doesn't mean I can't do it now.
I'm going to mark you down as that is going to be marked down on the grades. D-Mace, what we expect a lot for the BAGs. What happened?
I'll take the demerit. I'll take the demerit.
He's misassignment.
Should we give him a makeup date or an extension?
I might be able to find it during the break, so
we'll give him an extension. The break is the extension.
The break.
Okay, we'll add this.
You're going to have to complain about extensions a couple of days ago.
We did, David. You're right. So, Adam, the penalty is you will have to make this assessment without the benefit of those numbers.
Yes, but I'm looking at the distribution of targets for the Tennessee Titans pass catchers last season. Calvin Ridley, 120 targets. The next closest pass catcher, Chiga Okonkwo, with 70 targets, followed by Nick Westbrook-Akine with 60, Tyler Boyd with 57, Tony Pollard also 57, Tajay Spears 35, and I assume this is just with the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins 21. So I'm wondering if Calvin Ridley is going to have that big of a lead again this season. My gut tells me it would not shock me if he had a 50-plus target lead over the next closest pass catcher. And it appears that Ridley and Ward are on the same page. Mm-hmm. There were plenty of questions in training camp last season about Levis and Ridley not being on the same page. And we sort of chalked it up to, well, it's the training camp and they'll figure it out. They never figured it out. I did this exercise last season. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I do remember Calvin Ridley being much more efficient with Mason Rudolph throwing him the ball than Will Levis, which I don't think would shock anybody. So again, I was shocked as well, Willie, by the paltry 900.5 over under in receiving yards for Calvin Ridley on the ESPN bet. I think he smashes that over. But when it comes to our over under at 1,100, I say he just gets it. Like 1,125. I think he just gets, despite the ups and downs of his season, he still mustered more than 1,000 yards, slightly over 1,000 yards. So I am going to say that the Ridley Ward connection, it's tighter than the Levis Ridley connection. So I will say he goes over, just over, like within 20 to 30 yards over.
Okay. This is a little crazy because I'm not creating as much controversy between the three of us that that is going to pay dividends throughout the season, because I agree with you, and here's why. I look at that stat I gave you in the first 5 weeks. His role was a little less defined when D-Hop was still on the team. Mm-hmm. And so that was a very slow start for a new team. I think the benefit he's going to have this year, Ridley, second year in the offense and the clear number one guy by far in his role when the season starts. And you combine that with the fact that if he stays on the field, he's going to get the ball thrown to him well over 100 times, if not well over 120 times, I think, right? He's not a guy that is just a chuck it down the field. He can get down the field, but you can throw some quick throws to him as well. So he should get some of those in addition. So I'm not telling you to run out and take that prop bet of 900 because that's not what I do, but I was stunned at the 900. I don't know what they're saying, but it does have you going, wait a minute, these guys aren't exactly dumb that put these numbers out there. But I'm very optimistic. I am going to say over 1,100.
Well, I think they're looking at it from the standpoint of young quarterback. Offensive line may be better on paper, but it's still a wait and see. Can they get the running game going again? And they think that Cam will gradually get better as the season goes. And with that, the Titans may not be passing the ball as much. I said that a couple of days ago, that the way you help a quarterback is get you a good run game and run that football as much as you physically can. Because what that does is it opens up your play action pass. Now it gives your quarterback a little bit more room to throw those deep crossers or that deep post that he likes to throw. So a lot of it is going to hinge on how they're running the football. But if you look at a lot of number one and who they deemed the number two receiver, I think on average it may be the discrepancy depending on the talent level. It may be in 25 to 35 should be that's a healthy, I think, discrepancy in targets from the top guy to the second guy and so forth and so on. I think that's more so of a healthy, in between that 25 to 35.
615-737-1025. Our third pressing Titans question from Willie Donick. The over-under we have set for Calvin Ridley receiving yards is 1,100. Will Calvin Ridley exceed that, or will he fall short? Let us know. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tune in for the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix race on 1025 The Game this Sunday. By the way, be listening at the end of the next segment, because I will be giving tickets away to the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix race this weekend. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. and is brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
All right. It is coming. We are just 2 moons away from the debut of the Take It to the Bank segment. We've got underdogs coming up at 5:20 today. That's going to be awesome. And that means also it's time for a new season of Take It to the Bank. Our Friday predictions brought to you by F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. The 20 locations in our listening area that range all around, up in Clarksville, up top in Hopkinsville, KY, of course, right in the heart of our listening area at West End Avenue in Nashville, Murfreesboro. You've got Springfield, Mount Juliet. They look to be right in the middle of your community because they want to take some of the burden off of the day in, day out burdens of running your finances. And that's whether you're just a homeowner, just running the fam, maybe just running a solo mission, or a business owner. They've got all of that taken care of. Just check them out because your business means more to them. Give them a location by going to myfmbank.com. The website is myfmbank.com. Find the nearest location to you and tell them we sent you. It's Take It to the Bank time, Friday afternoon at 5:45 on our show. It's F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Vanderbilt football begins the season this Saturday at home against Charleston Southern. Catch all the action on 102.5 The Game. Pre-game show starts at 4:30. Kickoff is at 6. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Talking question 3 of Willie's pressing 10 pressing, I should say. Titans questions. Over under receiving yards for Calvin Ridley. We've set it at 1,100. By the way, Willie, during the break, I think I may have completed your homework assignment. We will get to that. But before we do,
I will accept it.
Before we do, Dylan is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dylan, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I was just wanting to weigh in on the Calvin Ridley 900 and something yards that you guys were talking about.
Sure.
And so I take that as two ways. Either one, what you guys are talking about, how I guess it's going to be declined because of basically like offensive struggles. Or do you think that it's actually the sports book saying that the receiving core itself has built up, meaning better distribution of the ball? Maybe Cam, finds a tight end, Gunnar Helm, that he is more reliable with, or maybe Io Manor steps up into that number 2 role, or Tyler Lockett. And so basically the ball is just being distributed more and kind of like away from Calvin Ridley. So I just wanted to see what you thought about that. Is it going to be, downfall of the offense, or is it just going to be there's actually more weapons to distribute it to, and that's why his numbers are going to be lower?
Good question, Dylan. Thank you for the call. So during the break, and I want your guys' opinion on this, I pulled up Mike Clay's fantasy projections on ESPN.com. He constantly updates this. And I want you to tell me if you think this is realistic for the Titans. Mike Clay has Calvin Ridley with 131 targets, Tyler Lockett with 71, Van Jefferson with 38, Alec Iomanner with 33, Chim Dike with 27, Bryce Oliver with 5. That's the receiving core. He has Chigakonkwo with 82, Gunnar Helm with 38. Do those seem like reasonable target numbers to the both of you?
Are you just talking about the receivers or what Chig added in?
This is receivers and tight ends.
I think yes.
So Chig would be the second most targeted pass catcher behind Calvin Ridley.
I think that is true.
Which is the way it was last year.
And a lot of times it's because those guys know the offense. And the quarterback feel a sense of security with those guys because they know what they're supposed to be doing. They've been through these things before. And then Tyler Lockett as well. But I see it as, Calvin Ridley leading all and then Chig being second. A lot of it with those rookie guys, I can see those guys, Io Manor having between what they said 38 or 60 catches.
Io Manor had 38 targets. Van Jefferson projected to have 38 targets. Io Manor 33, DK 27.
I can see Io Manor having Io Manor and Jefferson. Those two guys are going to be that's going to be the piece that's going to be interchangeable right there. And especially as you start to get the season going. And if Io Manor shows that he's developing, that's the part of the puzzle that is going to be interchangeable. So those two guys may just as well be closer in receptions. It may be, targets. It may be 55, 60 or 60, 61, somewhere around there. I don't know what the catches are going to be, but I think as the season goes on, you'll start to see that dynamic change depending on how Io Manor develops.
And Willie, by the way, Mike Clay, his fantasy projection for Calvin Ridley, 70 receptions, 1,105 yards. And 7 touchdowns.
So again, that's a pretty big gap between what ESPN Bet has, which I would have to think their fantasy department's got to be in line with that, and what you just threw out there. So I'm curious what kind of range we see around. It is a little unpredictable when you have such a horrible passing attack last year with terrible quarterback play and offensive line play. And then the wild card of having a brand new first pick of the draft, green rookie going out there. It's hard to predict. So you're probably going to have a lot of wide range. But I think here, most of us believe that they're going to get better quarterback play this year than last year, right?
Yes.
That ought to help. and he had 1,000 last year somehow.
Okay,
And he didn't light it up. We're talking about 17 games, and in the first 5, they were trying to deal with how do we have Ridley and D-Hop in the same time, and they were having a train wreck at quarterback. In one of those games, he didn't catch a single pass, and he still got to 1,000. So I'm optimistic about 1,100. I am.
By the way, Willie, I believe I did your homework assignment. One texter said that one texter said that I should receive a non-satisfactory grade, which those were the worst when you got the non-satisfactory grade in school. So tell me if you think this is acceptable. I looked at all receivers who received at least 100 targets in a season between 2014 and 2024. So a 10-year sample. And I looked at the average number of receiving yards for those players. The average was 1,070 receiving yards.
1,070.
1070.
Now, does that include? This would be a key stat. Is it all wide receivers?
I limited it. I limited it to wide receivers. Can't pick that out for some reason.
But there are some wide receivers that are more of your slot, hitch, not down the field guys. I think Ridley's ability to get down the field would help him bridge that gap between what did you say the average was?
1,070.
Over 1,000. 1,070. So it's almost 1,100 on its own. I think Ridley being a guy that should get some balls down the field thrown to him, that will put him over the top.
I'm just looking at some numbers here with a rookie quarterback and the targets. This is what I think, and this is why I said the discrepancy or the distance between the top guy and the second guy in regards to targets should be around somewhere, in the 30s, high 30s, somewhere around there. So I wanted to make sure that was sort of right. So I went back to a rookie quarterback, veteran receiver, some young receivers, and a rookie receiver, actually. Well, no, he wasn't a rookie. But the targets was 121, 82, and then the third person had 64. That's healthy. 121, 82, that's healthy from 1 to 2. That was Mark Clayton and I when Joe Flacco was a rookie. I had 121 targets. Mark had 82 targets. Now, we ran the football 592 times. So we put a lot on our running backs, LaRon McClain, Willis McGay, and Ray Rice. And we had a very successful season. Why? Because we leaned on the run, and we had guys that can go out and catch the football. I was the number one. Mark was a rookie. Was Mark a rookie? I think he was a second-year player. And then Todd Heap. As a matter of fact, Mark might have been a little bit older. And then Todd Heap. So that's typically how you want that number to be when you're dealing with a veteran guy in sort of a younger guy, especially now you add in a rookie quarterback, because what is the rookie quarterback looking for? He's looking for somebody he can trust. And typically it's that veteran guy.
I think that's a big one.
Yeah. It's typically the veteran guy that's been there. He trusts that guy. Joe trusted myself and Todd Heap, but he trusted Mark too, because Mark had been in the NFL at this point, I think 3 years.
Let's get to some of your reaction on our text line.
Yes. What do the people think? That's the key.
The people.
615-737-1025. What do you think?
Joey from Bellevue says Ridley will be over that amount unless he gets hurt. So Joey is taking the over. One texter is taking the under. He says, with the unproven receivers on this team, Ridley will probably see more double teams. That could affect his reaching that milestone. Derek, what do you make of that?
Now this is where, because if he's just sitting out on the outside and not moving, they're going to double team him because they know exactly where he's at. And it's a little bit harder for a receiver to get open. But what I saw last year, especially the second half when Calvin started playing, they like to move Calvin Ridley. He's a mover. He's not a guy that you sit on the line of scrimmage and say, beat the man. He has trouble getting off press. I don't know why, but he has trouble with man-to-man getting off press. Not to say he can't do it, but he has this. That's probably one of his weak areas, or his weakest area of his game. But when you move him around, now you're not allowing those defensive backs to get their hands on him. Look at all these offenses that run fluently, whether it's the Rams, Kansas City, All these, what they do is motion guys. They're trying to find matchup problems. They're motion guys trying to see. They want to get guys on the run, like Canadian football. They want to get these guys on the run. So when they hit it, they're going, and it's harder for you to jam them up at the line of scrimmage or double team them. So look at Calvin Ridley to be more of a move guy this season, because he's the only one that has proven he can go out and get the job done more consistently.
Dylan, swinging for the fences. Dylan says, I personally think Calvin Ridley will have 1,387 yards and 17 touchdowns.
Woo!
Whoa.
Dylan.
Dylan,
Man.
wait a minute. Where did you go for lunch today?
Woo-hoo.
Pump the
What
brakes,
are you
bud.
having, Dylan? Give it to me.
Yes, I could use some of that.
Yeah. No, let's leave it alone.
Do you want me to sing Afro Man this time? I could do that.
Wow, 17 touchdowns.
17 touchdowns.
Come on, man. Come on.
Did
Let's get
McLaurin
real.
even have 17 touchdowns last year? I think
No,
he had
no.
12,
He only had
didn't he?
he had 13.
Man, that was Randy Moss numbers right there.
Who was the last receiver to have 17 touchdowns?
for the Titans?
No,
Nobody.
No, like
Well, you go way back to the Houston Oilers days. Wide receivers.
That's like Jerry Rice kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Jamar Chase, I think, had 17 touchdowns last season, if
He
I'm
may
not
have.
mistaken.
I mean, he's the kind of guy.
Yeah,
These that's elite,
Jefferson has
elite.
Jefferson. I think Jefferson may have had 17.
Jamar Chase had 17 touchdowns last season. McLaurin had 13. St. Brown had 12. Evans had 11. Mark Andrews, not a receiver, had 11. T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, and Brian Thomas had 10. Those are the only receivers with double-digit touchdowns last season.
Wow. Well, 17 will lead the league.
Or at least tie.
Or tie, and that which means the Titans are scoring a lot of touchdowns, which means they're winning a lot of games unless the defense is horrible, which I doubt. So if that happens, 17 touchdowns, we need to be buying our tickets right now for the playoff.
Okay, hold
game.
on. Let's just put it in perspective. Okay, let's just get real. I know there's 17 games now. But take a guess on how many 17-yard touchdown reception seasons there have been in the history of the NFL.
Ooh, so you're talking.
Just
Oh,
take a guess.
man.
6.
No, I think it's 7. Oh, yeah. I would say 5.
I just looked it up. It's 8.
Oh.
No, it's 15.
Is
Wow.
15?
15.
Okay.
Yeah, in NFL history, there are 15 years where a receiver has had 17 or more touchdowns.
And
Has
how
it
many
been
of those-
repeat offenders?
And how many of those receivers are Hall of Famers?
Okay, so Randy Moss, 1, 2, 3. So David, I think you're right on the number of actual people, but it's people that have done it more than once. So there are 15 seasons of 17 or more. So Randy Moss has 1, 2, 3.
Don
They've done it more than once.
Hudson, Elroy Hirsch, Bill
Elroy Hirsch.
Roman, Rob Gronkowski, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jamar Chase are the only ones.
Right. So like Rob Gronkowski had one in 2011. So it's a rare feat. The NFL, I think, has been played over 100 years last I checked, and there's 15 times. So
if you
is
get
Dylan aware of this?
touchdowns,
By the way, a
did
different
Dylan dream this while listening to the Beatles or something like with some psychedelics? What was going on?
a different Dylan has texted in and said, that was not me about the 17 touchdowns, but I do think he will have over 1,100 yards. LOL. A different Dylan, this one in Antioch. 615-737-1025. You can let us know what you think. I mean, Dylan, the other Dylan. Woo! Almost 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns. I'll have what you're having, Dylan. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I know this is not Willie Donnick's favorite subject, but the SEC moving to 9 games, conference games, I should say, next season. Each team is going to have 3 annual rivals. The Athletic held a survey to find out for each fan base, to see which 3 rivals those fan bases will prefer. We'll break down some of that coming up next. 615-737-1025. All right, I promised a giveaway, so here it is. You can win a pair of tickets to see the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix at the Nashville Superspeedway on August 30th and 31st by being caller number 4 at 615-737-1025. Caller number 4, a pair of tickets can be yours to the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix at the Nashville Superspeedway on August 30th and 31st. Willie Donnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5 The Game.
Let's tell you about Loan Pronto. If you are struggling right now because you're looking at your mortgage rate, like, dang gummit, that is what got stuck with me a couple years ago. Rates were high. So if you got a rate that is at a certain height and you don't like it, and you're watching your hard-earned money vanish every month at Loan Pronto, they're delivering the lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. So if that is you, listen up, because Loan Pronto's rate reduction home loan program is a streamlined, low-cost way to slash those house payments by hundreds of dollars a month. So lock in a fixed rate as low as 4.99% APR and close in as little as 2 weeks. No appraisal needed in most cases, and you can skip the next 2 house payments entirely. That's what you do in your refi. That's a bonus. Rates. We know that these rates are not going to last, so call now and act. Loan Pronto's ready for you. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. And lock in that new low rate and skip the next 2 payments. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025, the game. If you just missed out on those Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix tickets, there is one more opportunity to win tickets today. If you are representing the people in Silly Underdog Picks, that is the final segment of the show, the People's Pick, that is. Silly Underdog Pick starts at 5:20. The People's Pick will take place in the final segment of the show. So when I give you the cue to call, 615-737-1025. The winner, well, let me correct myself, I should say. If you win the People's Pick, you will win a pair of tickets to see Judas Priest and Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on Sunday, September 21st. So if you just missed out on those Music City Grand Prix tickets, you do have one more opportunity to win tickets before the end of the show. Speaking of college football, as we discussed last week, the SEC is moving to a 9-game conference schedule starting next season. Included in that, each football team will have 3 annual rivals. Now, Willie, when we discussed this last week, you poo-pooed all over it, but it's the reality of the situation, my friend. You are going to have to find 3 annual rivals, and by you, I mean the teams in the SEC. So Seth Emerson of The Athletic did a survey. Who should be each football team's 3 annual rivals? He left it up to the readers of The Athletic, and I thought the results were interesting. So let's stay local. Let's scroll all the way down to Vanderbilt. The 3 teams that received the greatest percentage of votes: Tennessee, 95%, followed by Kentucky at 88%, and Ole Miss at 46%. Missouri also received 22% of the vote, and Alabama received 12% of the vote. So, Willie, I'm going to make you do this. You may not want to, but I'm going to make you do this. If you had to preserve 3 annual rivals for Vanderbilt, who would they be?
I will not throw a temper tantrum on the air today.
Okay, thank you.
Last week.
We appreciate
So
it.
I want to apologize for my antics before.
I forgive
Because
you.
I will say in a measured way, the theme of it, if you missed it, was I just think this whole thing flies in the face of really having a fair and equitable schedule, because the rivalry that you can't have it all. When you decide to have 16 teams in your league, you can't do everything you want to do. But I won't go there today. Specifically for Vanderbilt, those would be the 3 that I would say, and I would even stretch it and say Missouri as the 4th would be the 4th. If I were to vote for 4, I think I would have done exactly what the voters did here. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Missouri. Those would be the 4. And so I think they nailed it dead on.
By the way, Tennessee, Derek.
Yes.
Alabama, number 1 at 97%. Vanderbilt, number 2 at 80%. Kentucky, number 3 at 60%. Florida, 4th at 39%. Georgia, a distant 5th at 10%.
Man, that's surprising. I would tend to think, but I don't know the long story history of UT, but I would have thought Florida over Kentucky. That's just me.
What do you think, Willie? You are an SEC historian.
Yeah,
your thoughts on Kentucky receiving a significantly bigger share of the vote, 60%, than Florida at 39%.
But I guess it's not as storied as the Kentucky. Would you say that, Willie?
I think it depends on what era that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Florida and Tennessee for a long time didn't play very often. They really weren't big rivals until the 90s, when the divisions, when I was in school, and they went to 12 teams. They added South Carolina and Arkansas, and they did the 2 6-team leagues. Up until then, Tennessee and Florida really weren't rivals. They didn't play all the time. And you got to remember, too, for a long time, the SEC only had 7 league games for a longer time than you realize. So put all that together. Tennessee has always played Kentucky. But then, of course, for most people listening, in the 90s, boy, the Florida-Tennessee thing took off.
That's what I'm remembering.
Exactly.
Oh, it is. So
Yeah.
in the 90s, Spurrier against Fulmer, those were awesome rivalry games every year. That was the CBS or, a prime time kind of thing. So it's a little surprising, but I also wonder, when doing this, were people saying who's the rival, and were people saying, let's balance the rival, and hey, who do we want to play every year? Do we want to play Kentucky every year, or do we want to play Florida every year? We want to play Kentucky every year.
If I had to guess, Willie,
there's a little bit of that somewhere.
If I had to guess, the people voting on this were not thinking of it in such a nuanced way. Maybe some of them were. I think a lot of people, and correct me if I'm wrong here, 615-737-1025. I think there are people who think the way that you do, Willie, which is, hey, I will take the 3 easiest teams in the SEC to be my team's annual rivals. There's 3 wins for you. By the way, one texter One texter says, as a Tennessee fan, I want 2 guaranteed wins. So give me Vanderbilt and Kentucky. So
Right.
There-
So
there you go.
Think about this. Okay.
Mhm.
For many, many years, just the way the schedule was done, Tennessee always plays Alabama the same weekend, right? The
Mhm.
third, I think it's the third Saturday in October, always Tennessee, Alabama. That's written in stone, etc. And then the late Larry Woody for the Tennessean used to write it this way. If Tennessee could get to the end of the schedule and be in good shape, he used to call it the Tennessee Waltz in November, right? Because it would be like Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and then some non-conference team like Memphis or somebody like that, because Tennessee dominated Kentucky for decades, when they got good under Fulmer, and even in the latter years of Johnny Majors, they were just better than Kentucky every year. And they beat Vanderbilt 26 straight years when I first started watching Vanderbilt football. So I think there's some of that in the DNA of Tennessee. They kind of want to keep that.
I can understand it, but if you're thinking about, the stakes of the game, what draws more eyes to the television, it's Tennessee, Florida. And it's been that way since I've been watching Tennessee. That's why, I get it. Kentucky is an easy win back then, and it went further back. But when you're talking about games people want to see, it has to be Florida and Tennessee. At least in my mind, it would rank higher than Kentucky. But I'm not a UT grad.
One
I've been
texter
living here
says
forever.
Tennessee fans
haven't.
want Kentucky over Florida because they don't want to play tough games. That's why they play ETSU and Tennessee Tech.
I wonder what fan base is that person from, because I'm sure your team has one of those Tennessee Techs in there too.
One texter, Matt, says, historically, Tennessee can't beat Florida. I think my fellow Vols fans want away from Florida.
Man, where y'all at, Vol fans? People going off on y'all.
Gunner says it's hilarious that Tennessee fans are so delusional about where their program truly is.
Man, they're killing y'all, UT fans. What's going on?
You know what's amusing too? This is, Tennessee likes to say, well, Vanderbilt's really not our rival. They're not really our rival. They're about our fourth, right? But Vanderbilt's way up there in the vote.
Yep,
Tennessee,
88% behind Alabama at 97%.
We'll have to ask Chad about that. Oh, Vanderbilt's really not a rival for Tennessee. They're not a rival. They love throwing that out there. 88%.
Numbers don't lie.
But the counter is going to be, I can just predict. Well, it is about some wins. Vanderbilt probably not considered a rival of Mississippi State. 30%. So Vanderbilt shows up as on 6 votes. They are on the radar with 6 out of the 15 teams. And, Oklahoma and Texas, they've never even heard of Vanderbilt. So you throw ththose out. So people want to play Vanderbilt. So all of a sudden, we got a big rival.
Hey,
those are the rivalry games. We want to play Vanderbilt every year. What a big rival.
Vandy got something wait for him this year, okay?
Kentucky fans, by the way, voted Tennessee number 1 at 91%, Vanderbilt 91%, Vanderbilt 79%, South Carolina 40%.
Man. Well, everybody got Vandy as
big rival. Vanderbilt, big rival.
Or at least in their top 6. Man, Coach Clark Lee, I am not laughing at your program. I'm just laughing at what
that's what they need. That's what they use
maybe so.
as motivation. They
maybe
love talking about that. They talk about that all the time.
Man, oh man, it's like everybody want to claim Vanderbilt as
Vanderbilt, they're about our 5th most important rival over in Knoxville. Yeah, we don't have Vanderbilt.
I did not mean to do this, but now people are fighting in the text line.
Matt, 88%.
Matt from Paris says, "Hey Willie, Tennessee is going to waltz all over Vanderbilt this year by about 40." B-Man says, "Excuse me, Vols fan here for life. We ain't scared of nobody. Let's go Vols." Tommy says, "I just pulled over. As a Tennessee fan, I want to whip Florida's butt. I don't want Cupcake Kentucky and Vandy."
Wow, Vandy. Right. They're calling y'all cupcakes. What you going to do?
Gunner says, "I bet you Tennessee fans would hate it worse losing to Kentucky more so than Florida."
Oh, wow. Oh,
I touched a nerve.
Okay,
I did not mean to.
We love. No, you did. You like chaos.
That is true.
You love chaos.
That is true.
So there you go.
I do like to poke the bear.
Can I ask one other little sidebar question?
Sure.
Looking at Alabama, Auburn, number 1. 98%. Who the 2% not voting for Alabama and Auburn is the first? What?
That's not a rival. What are you talking about?
Vanderbilt, number 2. I'm kidding.
And Auburn has Alabama at 99%. So, like, where's the 1 or 2% here not voting for the other?
There was one that was 100%. Florida, Georgia was 100%, followed by
Yes.
Tennessee
Now
at
that
78%.
stands to reason. Yeah.
Yes. All right. 615.
And by the way, second rival for Florida is Tennessee at 78%. So the feeling is not mutual, right? Florida fans are like, yeah, Tennessee, bring them on.
Tennessee
Tennessee
fans
fans,
like,
no, no.
we don't want the smoke.
No, thank you. You all continue fighting in the text line, 615-737-1025 if you want to get in on this schoolyard bash. But coming up next, Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us. We'll talk more college football and other things with Jonathan Hutton. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. Team Ace Finnegan and Donick 1025 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Pleased to be joined, as we are every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, by Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick. Hello, Hutton. How are you?
I'm great, guys. Good to be back with you. And what a great lead for me to be able to lead into silly underdog picks. It's quite something.
Yes, we are
This
glad.
is a coveted spot.
We are glad to have you. Now, Hutton, I will admit, I had sort of forgotten about the whole Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson thing for a while until I saw a headline today that the two of them have applied to trademark the term gold digger to use on jewelry and keychains, among other trademarks. And
Right.
now,
the two of them or one of them? I have a feeling one of them is a part of that.
Well, I am just reading off of Sportico, and it says Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, have applied to trademark the term gold digger to use on jewelry and keychains. Now, as you know, I am incredibly biased, but I hope that Bill Belichick at North Carolina is a complete and total disaster. My question for you is, do you think UNC will be a story all college football season long, or do you anticipate the novelty wearing off over time?
This is going to be a story all season long. Now, I think there will be some roller coaster rides with this season because they are on, I believe, 8 different times already right now on ESPN.
Ugh.
So that's why it's going to be spread out all season long. Bill Belichick's going to be on your screen the way Deion was his first year, and Deion was all over it. They had success early, and they ended up with a 4-win season. But that season is defined by their September. And, well, we get to see early on. I mean, Monday night marquee, they stand alone against TCU. I'm intrigued to see how this goes because at no point have I thought about UNC football. I thought about UNC's coach. And that's very unusual for a Bill Belichick coach team.
I want to ask you a college football television question. Fox made news over the summer by adding Dave Portnoy to Big Noon Kickoff. There has been a story over the past few days. It was first reported that Ohio State banned Portnoy, a noted Michigan fan, from going on the field at Ohio Stadium when Ohio State faces Texas this weekend. Then I believe it was Ohio State's AD who said, that's not true. Fox said only the people who are on the desk are going on the field, and Portnoy is not on the desk. It's a whole thing. But really, the goal of Fox is to try to siphon viewers away from College Game Day.
No doubt.
They are hoping that Portnoy can be their version of Pat McAfee. Do you think that Fox can make any sort of dent in College Game Day's viewership this season?
Well, I think that they've already made themselves relevant with that show. You don't hire Dave Portnoy and bring on Barstool to have them go do man on the street interviews outside the stadium every game day. And for Ross Bjork, AD at Ohio State, he knows this. I mean, he's been at A&M. I mean, come on, like to think that only those on the desk are going to be on the sideline for a broadcast where, I mean, I've been on the road with Fox for Big Noon Kickoff. This is not some like 50 slappies going on the road in a bus and they just like pull up to the stadium and go do an online show. That's what Chad and I would do. But like that's not what happens here. Like, the expectation would be, we're going to put him on the desk. I mean, why wouldn't you have him on the desk for a segment? This isn't something where you plan on just making a blanket statement and saying, we're only using him this way. No, I don't think they would be that close-minded to it. And if you've heard various reports on this, mine would be leaning towards the Michigan fan can't get inside the horseshoe, which, I mean, doesn't surprise me, given the way that rivalry goes and the things that have been said.
Now, Hut, turning to the Tennessee Titans, they've had their trouble at offensive line, and we've chronicled it for the last 3 seasons. But it seems like this year, they're getting their act together. They went out. We all know who they signed. They're switching positions of J.C. Latham and put him back to his original position. Cushenberry, they hope, can come back fully healthy, hopefully by the start of the season. But are you surprised, given all of that they released Corey Levin? Because of anybody that has been cut on his team, that was the biggest surprise to me.
That's the only surprise right now for me.
Mhm.
By the way, did they re-sign him to the practice squad?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I
That
haven't
could be
seen
their
that
plan.
Not right
position.
now.
Yeah,
As of now, no.
exactly.
I don't
Now,
know.
there could be
Okay.
there could be a waiting game because he's a free agent, right? He might be testing the market. Is that
Mhm.
fair to say?
Yes,
He
but look, right now, your backup center
is a rookie.
is either the undrafted offensive lineman who he's played 5 total snaps of center in college, or who am I leaving out here? Or there's a swing guy who's played every position. But I mean, it's Cushenberry. You mentioned, hopefully Cushenberry's ready to go. I mean, this is a sign that he better be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Corey Levin to me was one of the bright spots of camp. I mean, he of the off season, he took those reps with Ward. He was the guy if Cushenberry wasn't back, and we didn't know that for sure until 3 weeks ago. It feels like forever ago. But this, the final roster thing, like whenever I saw his name, that was the only surprise, just given the fact of the importance of what he represented all off season, and to go on in the youth movement. I understand hoarding offensive linemen.
Mhm.
I do, like keeping the initial 11. Like it's hard to find good offensive linemen in the NFL. We all know that. We lived through last year. But the center position and knowing what Cushenberry means, what Levin means to the backup spot, and just if the dam breaks, you've got somebody that has spent time the entire offseason with the other starting 4. That was a head scratcher. Unless you're bringing him back on the practice squad, but again,
But why would you take a chance that you would lose him?
Willie, the only thing I'm with you, man. The only thing I can come up with is like you have some agreement with him.
Yeah.
That you're bringing him back because you can pay as much as you want to a player on the practice squad now, on those veteran spots.
Right.
But
They
weren't
the
saving
veteran thing might come in there is the only thing I hear, but he's 1.5 million. That
I know.
can't be breaking your bank. You don't
No.
Are you that worried about whether his 1.5 million is guaranteed or not?
No.
If they lose him and all of a sudden Cushenberry re-injures or something nightmarish like that, we were hearing that, like you said, they've been singing his praises for so long.
Yeah, he's been fine. I mean, and again, like we haven't seen any issues with him and the rookie quarterback, so I don't know. Like that to me would be glaring if there were problems there. There haven't been. And I always say, like, right out of the chute with all the roster cuts, like, give it time. We got to see the final roster. But this one just feels different. Like, it's hard for me to see the plan whenever, you've got a guy that's been working every single day with your starting quarterback, and your veteran who's better and needs to be ready to go is coming off an Achilles injury. That is, you just don't know. So again, I'll go back to what you guys are reiterating. It's a head scratcher, and it's really the only big surprise for me on a roster right now that lacks depth, and that's where they had some, and I don't see it right now in what they've done.
Jonathan Hutton is with us. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. So Hut, here we go. Here's our 3 Titans questions from training camp. Just a quick zingers.
Okay.
You just give me an over or under on these 3 so far.
Okay.
Over or under 42.5 sacks allowed by the offensive line, which would be a marked improvement and about league average.
I would go over on that because of the rookie quarterback. You're going to take your sacks. There are going to be mistakes, and this offensive line is going to have injuries. Give me the over.
Okay. Calvin Ridley, over or under 1,100 yards receiving?
Ooh, I think that's right. I think you're right on the number. Man, if you just said 1,000, I'm going over. You know what? I'm going to take the over on this. I think it's less than 1,200, more than 1,100, Willie. I think you're right around the number because I think Cam Ward trusts his wideout, and I think Ridley's pretty durable. I think he's going to be on the field.
Okay, and the last one for the Titans is Cam Ward over or under 13.5 games played?
Games played, not games started. Yeah. No, I know where you're going here. It'll be all games started. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm going under.
Oh,
I'm taking the under.
Hutton. Not only did
you
I go over,
you and I agree.
Hutton,
you and I agree.
Not only did I go over,
Mason Adam not.
I said he's going to play all 17.
Oh my good! Wow, this journeyman. Let me touch the cloak of Cam Ward. No longer Sean McVay. It's now Cam Ward. We all need to touch.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just the trend is you're going to play your backups, and again, this is not like Dennis Kelly's not the rotational tackle on this offensive line. So with all that, and I expect Cam Ward to take some hits. It's not like he's played a ton of snaps in the preseason. He's played about average to what we've seen from the top picks in recent years. But again, like those hits, those bumps in the road are going to come, and he's going to miss a start or two. That's just what starters across the league do. I'll take the under, but I think the number's pretty good. Had it been, I think you get a lot more under taking the under if it's 14.5 instead of 13.5.
All right, last one for you. Texas, Ohio State. What are we going to see? What do you think?
I'm taking Texas. Texas and Withrow pinned this months ago, and I the more and more I look at their roster, the more and more it feels like they are the Ohio State of this season, talent-wise. I mean, they've paid for it, but again, like look at their defense. They're elite defense. They're fast where they need to be fast. They're long and they can stop the run. I'm looking more than just Arch Manning, and then I know it's been 2 starts, but the last name on his jersey is Manning. It's hard to see a Manning fail in any prediction that you make. I think Texas is going to go on the road and win, and there are a lot of question marks about Ohio State. That's also factor into my prediction. New quarterback, new play callers, plural, and there's a lot of hype around Ohio State winning the national title. Now that pressure is on Texas, I think they'll handle it well in week 1.
Hutton, quickly, before we let you go, since Silly Underdog Picks is next, just for fun, what's your Silly Underdog pick for this week?
Oh, my goodness. Give me – is Auburn favored or are they not?
Let me see.
Auburn is favored by 2.5 at Baylor.
All right, here's what I don't want to take anybody. Okay.
No, you can go ahead.
Give me Baylor then at home on Friday night against Auburn.
Okay.
Hugh Freeze is talking about he won't even acknowledge who he's starting at quarterback, and he's talking about using different play callers for different downs and distances. That's terrible. That's an underdog pick. I'm surprised they're favored after those comments.
Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick has been our guest on D. Mays, Fingen, and Donick. He joins us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Hutton, great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
All right, guys. I'll be listening. Thank you.
Yep.
Jonathan Hutton on the program. Always a pleasure to talk to Hutton. 615-737-1025. All right, everybody. It is time. The start of season 31. The Shane Battier anniversary. Thank you, David James.
Oh, my
The
goodness.
Shane Battier anniversary of Silly Underdog Picks is coming up next. We'll welcome in Chris Sanders. We'll reveal our mystery contestant, and you need to be listening as well for the cue to call for the people's pick. 615-737-1025. Silly Underdog Picks is next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Fingen, 1025 The Game. D Mace, Vingen, and Donick 1025 the game. Willie Donick, Eric Mason, Adam Vingen. And if you hear that music, you know it's time for Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. I just want all of you to know Chris Sanders hasn't answered his phone. And Willie, as the commissioner, if Chris doesn't get a pick in, he forfeits. So, Chris Sanders, if you're listening, pick up your damn phone. It's time for Silly Underdog Picks. And with that
Can
being
we get
said,
an all-points bulletin out to
Yes.
Chris Sanders on the Montgomery Bell Academy field, which I'm sure he's probably finishing up the day.
he knew
over
what
there.
time it was.
Yeah, he claimed. I mean, we're doing this for him. He is-
Exactly.
We are
He's the man.
moving Silly Underdog Picks for Chris Sanders, our defending champion. I turn it over to our commissioner, Willie Donick.
Oh, Willie D, Willie D. Ooh, Willie. Oh, Willie
Ladies and gentlemen,
D,
this is your
Willie
commissioner
D.
speaking, coming at you from New England.
Ooh.
coming at you from the state of Rhode Island, Narragansett to be exact. Silly Underdog Picks is underway for the season of 2025, the 31st year of this fine contest. Over 2 different shows, a couple of different time slots, sometimes more than once with more different shows. But of course, the founding father, George Plaster, has given us his blessing to continue this contest as it goes back to drive time here on DVD. We are excited, and it is brought to you once again by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. So let's recap the season last year, the 30th anniversary, which was
The Pearl anniversary.
the Pearl anniversary. Thank you, Adam.
Pearl.
The victor and the champion, Mr. Chris Sanders.
The no-show.
The no-show. He's nowhere
who
around.
right now is I mean, he was so excited texting us yesterday, talking trash or texting trash.
Benedict Sanders is how I refer to him.
Yes.
Benedict
So let's
Sanders.
recap. Let's recap the competition. He ran away with it. Okay. It started in the very first week when he picked Vanderbilt and the upset over the Hokies of Virginia Tech, the coming out party of Diego Pavia. Somehow, Chris Sanders was all over it. You know about his strategy. It's boom or bust.
Mhm.
He can finish first and he can finish last. He's done both since he joined the competition just a few years ago. But the ultimate, even though he had it won, he had the competition probably in the bag. The big rivalry weekend, Chris Sanders, a proud Ohio State Buckeye in 2 sports, football and track, selected Michigan over his alma mater. A treasonous act which has never and will never be forgotten.
Yeah, you can never get over that one. Can never forget it. Ever. Gosh, how did he do that? Why did he do
But-
that?
Okay, so before we introduce our new contestant this year, I just want to hit D-Mace and Adam up with one question, okay? D-Mace, we'll start with you.
Yes.
What did you learn from last year's competition? And what adjustments will you make to try to get back to the throne? Because you are a former champion.
Yeah.
But you really slipped last year. What happened?
Yeah. I gotta take some risk, man. This is about risk taking. Okay. If you don't take no risk, you won't win. Either go home or go big. And I need to go big. And it might start this weekend. That's what I understood. That's what I learned.
I was also risk adverse last season. I was content with, to mix sports metaphors here, just get on base. I wasn't going for the double-digit underdogs. I was picking single-digit underdogs, and it actually did work ultimately. Willie did not mention that I finished in second place.
You did.
last
You got the
season
silver medal
in
as a
my
rookie.
rookie
Nothing-
But
season.
when
nothing
you
to be
ain't
ashamed of.
first, you last.
Well, you know
okay?
who was
And,
last?
well, D-Mace,
Derek
you were
Mason. That's who was last.
Y'all were last with me, okay?
and Chase McCabe, who has ceded his spot in the competition, finished in third place. So, Willie, why don't we introduce our mystery contestant, our rookie for the season, someone who actually picked up the phone when it was time for Silly Underdog
We can
Picks.
count on this person.
Yes, we can.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have been throwing out hints of who this gentleman is. We revealed that he is a gentleman and he is tall. He can skate. He also was an outstanding high school quarterback up in this area of the country back in the day. And he makes his Silly Underdog Pick debut today, representing the Predators broadcast family, the one, the only, the Stanley Cup winning defenseman, 1,100 games in the NHL, Mr. Hal Gill. Skillsy.
Hey, is that a bell coming in?
Yes.
Hey, we got it all for you, Skillsy.
I like that. I like that. Thanks for. Hey, I am honored to be on this. I'm excited about this season. If there's anything I'm good at, it's silly, and so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So Hal, what preparation have you done? Like when you were offered this prize position, this prestigious position, did you consult others, or is this a solo act? Give me your thoughts on how you're going to pick college football each week.
Well, you know me well enough to know I can't do anything on my own. I'm a team guy, and so I'm drawing off my team. I have the broadcast team has my back. I think we have a well balanced attack where we have some heart, a lot of heart, and some brains, and some people that just don't have one or the other. So I'm trying to balance everyone's opinions with their heart and their head and come out with the best possible silly underdog.
Okay. I think you're ready. So just give people a brief.
And of course, Willie, you've been on the text, and there's a lot of nonsense as well. So
well, that's what this contest is all about. The contest is all about nonsense, Skillsy. So you're going to fit right in. A quick background. So, Skillsy, you back when you were in high school, you could have played college football, correct?
Yeah, that was I had to make the decision between hockey and football, and I stayed up many a night crying about it, but eventually I couldn't let hockey go, so I gave up my dream of being a quarterback, and probably gave up my dream of taking over like Tom Brady's spot for the Patriots, that kind of thing, but we'll never know.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Mr. Commissioner, before we get to the picks, I want your official ruling. Chris Sanders David Janes has attempted to reach Chris Sanders multiple times.
Yes.
4 times.
I have
5
texted
times.
Chris Sanders multiple times. Here is what I suggest to the commissioner. If Chris Sanders does not call back and submit his pick by the end of this segment, he forfeits week 1.
Yes. Yes.
You
Because
think about that.
This is unprecedented.
No, it's not. He's the one that called for this time.
We changed the time for
Exactly.
Chris Sanders, and he can't be bothered to show up?
Come on now, Willie. We're calling the code red right now.
So I want you to consider that while we make our selections. But let's just quickly go over the order of selection. Derek Mason, since he was the biggest loser last season, he'll go first. Hal will pick second this week, and it's sort of a snake draft, right? So next week, Hal will pick first, etc. Hal will pick second. I will pick third. And if Chris decides to show up, he'll pick last.
Okay. Well, Chris Sanders, boy, you talk about being on the clock. He fortunately does have the 4th pick. So with that in mind, for people that are new to the contest, maybe new to the station, maybe new to Nashville, here's the simple rule of silly underdog picks. The beauty is the simplicity. You pick an underdog each week. That underdog must win outright. 0 points for a cover. 0. And the bigger the underdog, the bigger the reward. Thus, the strategy of Chris Sanders, who's more boom or bust and not moving the sticks 10 yards at a time. So if you pick a 1-point underdog and that underdog wins outright, you get 1 point. If you pick a 20-point underdog and they win outright, you see the difference in the math. So best man wins by the end of the season. So let's get it started. The first pick of 2025, Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer and Host and Gasket, belongs to the Spartan dog himself, Derek Mason.
I'm jamming over here, man. Post Malone, let's go. That's the vibe we on all season.
All right, Derek.
So with that being said, I said go big or go home. I'm taking the Orangemen of Syracuse to upset UT. Both teams are ushering in new quarterbacks. one a 3-star from Jersey, from Notre Dame, Steam Angel, and then obviously UT's ushering in their new quarterback. But UT got to replace a whole bunch of offensive linemen. So look for this one to be close, but I'm picking the Orange Men of Syracuse. Too upset. Let's go, Post Malone, baby!
All right, Willie, tell us the spread.
Okay. Syracuse is a 14-point dog. The Orange. Not they are now just the Orange.
Not the Orange
And they
Men.
are a 14-point dog playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta Saturday at noon against the Big Orange, the University of Tennessee, ranked 24th. So this is an interesting, a neutral field, so to speak, although we know there'll be a lot of Tennessee's shade of orange that will be rocking there. Shades of the season opener back in 1998 when Tennessee and T. Martin started their road to the national championship with a dramatic win over Donovan McNabb and the Syracuse. Back then they were called the Orange Men. So this is a fun matchup here. Syracuse and 14 for D-Mace. Okay, that brings us to the debut of Hal Gill. So let's see what he has selected as his theme song.
This is a different vibe than I anticipated from Hal Gill.
I like it, Hal.
Hey, listen, that gets the people going, right? Willie, we get on the road and you know, when we need to get going, we need to motor up, like that comes on and we jam out to it, and I feel like it's doing the trick right now. I'm excited about it.
All right, Hal.
It has been played more than once on the back of the media bus with the Traveling Road Show with the Predators broadcast crew. No question about it. The purple hat. So Hal and his purple hat. Let's see who he selects.
All right. Well, after my advisory committee gave me several options, we looked at a few different things. I was promised bodily harm if I took Texas. So I'm going to steer clear of that one. And I think we all agreed, and I think I feel really comfortable riding the Taylor Swift wave with the Kelsey brothers and taking Cincy over Nebraska. As we all know, Nebraska, the N stands for knowledge. So I'm taking Cincy.
I like that one.
The Bearcats of Cincinnati are a 6.5-point dog as they take on Nebraska, and this game is being played at Arrowhead Stadium, fittingly enough. And so a very big Kelsey Taylor Swift vibe at this game. And we'll see if the Bearcats can get the W. So 6.5-point dog, Cincinnati against Nebraska at Arrowhead.
Now, is that locked in, Willie? I have a question. Is that, as the commissioner, is that locked in now, or is that up until game time?
You are locked in, my friend.
You are locked in.
That is your pick.
It's locked in at 6.5.
No, it's locked in at what you pick it at during the
what the spread is right now is what the point is, the points that you'll get.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
All right. Hal's first pick is documented. That brings us to one Adam Vingan going into his sophomore season in this fine competition, coming off a silver medal performance as a rookie.
All righty. Derek took the Tennessee Volunteers. There is another game that Tennessee fans are going to be paying attention to, I am sure, this weekend. Let's take a trip to Pasadena, California, where Nico Iamaleava, the Iamale drama, is behind him. He is playing quarterback for the UCLA Bruins, who are 5.5-point underdogs, at least according to what I'm looking at home against the Utah Utes. Give me Nico in the Bruins to upset Utah in Nico's debut at the Rose Bowl this weekend.
No, I like that one.
In a vaunted traditional Big Ten matchup that goes back 1 year. The Battle of the U's, Utah versus UCLA. It is the Bruins Yes, with Nico making the debut, they are indeed a 5.5-point dog in the Rose Bowl, 5.5-point home dog against the Utes. So 5.5 at the Rose Bowl for Mr. Adam Binken.
Hey,
okay.
Willie, guess who decided to show up?
Oh, just in time.
Chris Sanders. I
goodness.
just want you to know this.
Fashionably late.
I'm going to talk over. I'm going to talk over this because you got in under the wire, my friend. If you didn't
Oh,
call
my
within the
gosh.
next couple of minutes, you were going to forfeit week 1.
You were going to
I
be
wanna let him.
excommunicated. You were going to be excommunicated.
Thanks for
That's it.
joining us, Chris.
That's it.
Man, I just got out of practice. I've been running around like Derek Mason.
You know
Got
whose
bad
fault?
knees.
You
Hey,
know whose fault
We
is that?
moved this competition for you.
You know whose fault
I
is
know.
that? Yours.
Hey, I just got. I'm in the coaches. I just got.
You know what?
I thought it was on Thursday.
You know what? You saying too many. I'm. Stop it, okay? You're saying too many of those
Hey,
things.
Derek. As long as I give him my all, that's all
All right.
that matters, Mister.
Chris, you just got in under the wire. Willie, recap the picks so
Okay.
Chris knows
Oh, my
who's already
God.
taken.
Yes. And Chris, let me say, too, as a member of the coaching staff, it must be prioritized that this contest must start at 5:20 sharp. So
Can you give me
practice for the
5:30?
Big Red. Practice must be over by 5:18 at the very end. That is the cutoff. Everybody off the field for the Big Red so they can hear
I
your
know,
pick.
my fault, man. My bad. I'm like D-Max. He late all the time. He used to be late to meetings all the time. Talking about, I gotta get a donut. I gotta get a donut.
All right, so Chris, before I
Hey,
give
you
the
ain't
pick
supposed
that
to be
you
telling
think
our
is-
stories, man.
That's supposed to stay in the locker room.
Hey,
today?
listen, those Krispy Kremes were good, man. Hey.
Okay.
Hey, Mace. I saw you in your tank top. Uh-oh. It's got a Kool-Aid stain on it, man.
All right.
Oh boy.
Willie,
All right, so
recap
Chris,
the picks
good.
for Chris.
Well, I'm
Okay,
picking.
quick-
I'm picking Texas.
Okay.
Oh,
You're
wow.
not picking Texas.
He ain't picking Texas.
All right, hold on.
He would do that.
Before we
though.
get the pick, Chris, can you just give some words of wisdom to our new rookie, Hal Gill, who joins the competition? Because when I revealed that Hal was going to be on our text line, the fourth member of our, you had a very decisive message for him.
Hello?
Yes, Chris.
Chris,
You with us,
we're-
Chris?
we haven't went anywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so confused.
What is wrong with Chris?
Dude, I am in practice.
Chris,
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
Chris,
rattled.
what
He's
is your pick, Chris?
let's make it
I'm going with Texas. I'm going with Texas over Ohio State.
Seriously?
again.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Benedict Sanders.
Wow.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah.
We thought
I
you would
got
have
you,
learned your
man.
lesson last year.
For merely
Hey.
1.5 points.
Oh, that's it? Dang.
Yes, that's
Well,
it.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
it. It's in.
Oh, my gosh. Y'all, I
See,
thought the show
see
was on
how
Thursday. I'm
this
so
is what you
mad.
got to deal
How
with,
much is
Hal.
the score?
This right here.
I told you
D-Mac.
this days ago. It was Wednesday.
Y'all sent.
How
I'm
much is
so
the
confused.
total worth?
No,
my
it
God.
ain't, it's not even that. He
1.5.
picked Texas to beat Ohio State, and it's only a 1.5 point spread. Chris, what are you doing?
Damn, as long as I give him all, that's all that matters. And I'm
No
so,
takesies,
Hey.
backsies.
I'm so mad right
This
now.
could be
Listen,
a problem.
Texas gonna win too. Watch,
y'all
guaranteed.
told me.
Oh
I
man.
hope none of y'all win, and I still get 1.5 points, and I'm gonna still talk about to y'all.
And he's gonna get that 1.5
Oh,
points.
my-
Oh
too.
my
I thought
goodness.
the show was on Thursday, man. Y'all, I'm so mad at y'all.
Well, now that you know it's not on Thursday, it's on Wednesday.
I'll find the text that said Wednesday at 5:20.
Are you a
Hey,
half
man.
text reader? I think you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
Here's
I
the
am,
problem
man.
with Chris Sanders as well. He clearly doesn't have an iPhone, so all of the bubbles are green because
got
he's
the
the only
cricket-
one with a
the-
non-iPhone.
The cricket phone, it don't work after 5.
Okay. All right. Well, Willie, let's recap week 1 of
Oh,
Silly
my
Underdog
goodness.
Picks now that Chris decided to join us.
Okay,
Oh,
I
man.
can only describe this opening week as shocking
Hey,
for the
I
defending
love y'all.
champion, Chris Sanders.
I love y'all. my head coach is looking at me mad. I love y'all.
Okay,
I love it. I
Chris
can't
Sanders
the
needs to
way.
regroup.
Oh,
All right,
man.
Chris.
I love you.
He has
Yeah,
shown
yeah.
himself to be very vulnerable in week
Love y'all,
1. This
man.
is the Silly
Later.
Underdog competition for 2025, brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We are underway. Derek Mason trying to move out of the cellar from his last place finish last year. He has decided to go big with his philosophy, and he has started off with the Syracuse Orange, a 14-point dog as they take on Tennessee at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Willie,
That's coming up on Saturday.
You ain't have to say all that other stuff like bottom of the barrel stuff. You ain't have to say all that. That was last year, okay? We're talking about
I'm
this
creating, but see, this is the before after, D-Mace. I paint the picture as you struggling and down and out and then climbing out to a championship. That's drama. That's what the people want.
Okay,
They want
okay.
story.
All right.
That's what we sell. Another big story, the rookie, Hal Gill, a.k.a. Skillsy, debuting in the competition, consulting his very deep squad of Predators broadcasters and representing. He will go with the Kelsey Bowl. Cincinnati, the Bearcats are a 6.5-point dog as they take on Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium. Also in the wake of the big engagement. Oh, yeah. Hal is all about the flavor. He's going with the Bearcats for 6.5. Then Adam Vigan, the third pick, selects UCLA, the Nico Bowl, the debut of Nico Iamaleava, who defected from the Tennessee Vols. And Adam loves chaos, so he wants to see the Bruins get a win and get him some points. They're a 5.5-point dog in a conference game, a traditional Big Ten matchup that everybody has on the tip of their tongue who loves the Big Ten. UCLA against Utah.
This is a rival.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big rival. And then finally, a controversial pick. He is mercurial. He is an enigma. He is Chris Sanders, a former Buckeye and a forever Titan, the defending champion, usually taking the biggest underdog he can find. But today, rattled, coming into the contest late, trying to defend his title. Obviously not looking at a slate of games at all. Has done no preparation. The only game he can think of, Texas, a 1.5-point dog at Ohio State in the horseshoe.
And he's
only
going
going for
that.
1.5 and picking against his alma mater.
Again.
Wow.
What is going on? What is
Oh,
going
man.
on? So there it is, the start of the Silly Underdog picks. Now it's the people's turn.
Now it's your turn. Call us 615-737-1025 for the people's pick. If you represent the people and you pick correctly, you will win a pair of tickets to see Judas Priest and Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on Sunday, September 21st. Call us now, 615-737-1025. Yes, Derek?
Hey guys, on the real note, for real. All of y'all are good guys, and I just hope each one of you this week and moving forward that you lose every damn game.
Well, we'll see what happens. Call us 615-737-1025. The people's pick is next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025. The game.
Which one? Hey, it's Derek Mason, and if you're thinking about your home's curb appeal, don't overlook your garage. It's the biggest opening in your house. That's why I always recommend All Four Seasons Garage Doors, owned by Dan Watkins. This locally run, family-owned business you can trust. They've got a huge selection of garage doors. So if you're ready for a new look, then this is the place to go for quality. And if you just need something, if you just need a fix, whether it's a spring replacement, opener replacement, section replacement, or any repair, they'll get it done right. Then, well, they can even quiet that noisy garage door opener or door that's been driving you crazy. Installation, nobody does it better. They're big enough to serve, but small enough to care. That's why so many Middle Tennesseans trust them with their homes. Check them out online at all4seasonsgarages.com. That's all four, the number 4, seasonsgarages.com. When trust matters, call All Four Season Garage Doors.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The Game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. A spirited first week of silly underdog picks. I'm glad Chris Sanders decided to show. He was so rattled. He was so rattled.
Did he really show? Was that really him? Hey, Willie, I got a quick question.
Okay.
Before we
For
get
the commissioner?
Yeah, for the
Do I need to
commissioner.
put my commissioner hat back
put your
on? Okay.
commissioner hat back on. You shouldn't have taken it off, but put it back on because we gotta have our listener pick. But can a listener pick the same game that one of us picked?
The answer is no, I believe.
That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
People are going off the board. The idea is they can make somebody look bad. They want to make you guys look bad and take a pick that has not been chosen.
But there's also strategy because you can win a pair of tickets to see Judas Priest and Alice Cooper at First Bank Amphitheater on Sunday, September 21st. You can try to go for the big underdog pick, or you can find the smallest underdog pick possible to give yourself a better chance, I should say, of winning the ticket. So let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, where Shannon has been waiting patiently. Shannon, you are representing the people this week. What is your pick in silly underdog picks?
The Baylor Bears.
The Baylor Bears. Now, Jonathan Hutton mentioned this game, but he is not an official part of the competition.
Correct.
So the Baylor Bears it is. Thank you, Shannon. Good luck.
So Shannon picked the Baylor Bears.
Willie, what's the line on that game?
Shannon, let me just add that thank you. Thank you on behalf of the commissioner's office for adding a little class to the competition after what we saw from our panel in the last segment. Baylor,
we needed some class,
is a 2.5-point home dog in Waco as they take on Auburn. And it's a big season for Auburn after they struggled last year, without a doubt. So if Baylor pulls off the win, Shannon, representing the people, will be a winner.
Okay, good luck, Shannon.
Good luck, Shannon.
Terrell on our text line. This is not an official pick because we already have the people's pick, but he is taking Virginia Tech against South Carolina.
I looked
in
at that
week
game.
1. South Carolina is a 7.5-point favorite against Virginia Tech at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Yeah, I looked
that
at
is two opponents for the Vanderbilt Commodores, both on the road. They played both of those teams at home last year. They, of course, beat Virginia Tech in a game that Chris Sanders does remember picking in opening week, and it helped win the title for him. Now Vanderbilt's got to go to Virginia Tech, and right on the heels of this game. So they're going to be watching very, very carefully what happens to the Hokies there, because that is, I believe, the second opponent for Vanderbilt. Am I right?
I believe that is
yes,
correct.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
And then it's South Carolina.
Did you guys like me sort of began to feel a little partial toward South Carolina watching the SEC sort of documentary? I started to like South Carolina for some reason. They were one of those teams. They were one of those teams watching the documentary you just started to like. At least me.
I think they're very intriguing too, and I think they will not, like Vanderbilt, sneak up on teams this year. That by the end of the year, they were right there for a playoff berth. They came very, very close. They were kind of that team that kept moving up, and the committee, I don't think, really knew what to do with them because they weren't really being considered, but they just kept playing great. And now they've got a lot of guys back, including an excellent quarterback who was a guy that was highly touted out of high school, but he was young last year. But, man, did he get better. So that's a really intriguing team to watch.
A lot of intriguing matchups. We will get more into those college football matchups tomorrow with Mitch Lay. But just, of course, Texas at Ohio State, 1 versus 3. Another top 10 matchup, Catholics versus convicts, Notre Dame in Miami. The number 6 Fighting Irish versus the 10th ranked Miami Hurricanes in Miami. We mentioned Virginia Tech and South Carolina.
I think
LSU and
yes.
Clemson as well. Another top 10 matchup at Clemson. So a lot of really good college football games.
Another game, and this may end up being a blowout, but another game. Michigan is starting a freshman quarterback, a true freshman quarterback. He's damn good, but they're starting a true freshman quarterback. They've lost some players from last year. And then is their coach suspended for this game, or was it the game?
Yes.
So you got your coach suspended. Watch this game. If their coach is suspended, I don't know if it's for this one or the game they play in Germany. Don't they play a game in Germany?
They do. I believe
Yeah.
that's next year.
Okay, that's next year. So watch this game very closely. This game may end up being closer, and I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico won that game. I know they playing in a big house. I know they got to travel, and I know it's a tall task for New Mexico, but Michigan is playing a freshman quarterback, and they don't have their coach for the first game.
We will get more.
Quite often, there's a big upset in this first weekend, right? There's usually some drama, and sometimes there's that upset out of nowhere. Did anybody consider Florida State against Alabama?
No.
Home dog? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Alabama, new quarterback? Nope. You're a believer?
UCLA over Utah was my first choice. I had 3 choices written down. That was my first choice.
Okay. Nobody considered at Doak Campbell, the Seminoles.
No.
Mm-mm.
After Florida
okay.
State had just an awful season last season,
They were bad.
I could not bring myself to do it. But that'll do it for us today on the program. Tomorrow we will look ahead to week 1 of college football season with the Athletics Mitch Light in the 3:00 hour, plus a special Thursday edition of Ask D-Mace at 5:00. Since Derek's taking a long Labor Day weekend, we will move Ask D-Mace up one day from Friday to Thursday. But we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Chasing Checkers coming up next.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The show love you. Peace.